Hey there, it's Jim and Debbie, and this is episode 40 of the Midday Minute. You know what that means, Debbie?
What? We're getting
The
old?
sh- well, the show is over the hill officially. No, we aren't, but the show is tired. It needs a breather between episodes, and that's why we are now on a bi-weekly format.
Right, right. Well, good to be back.
It is good to be back. In today's episode, we are going to talk to Cathleen Draper, one of the stars of our 20 for 20 series on the YouTube channel. What does 20 plus 20 equal?
40.
That's right, episode 40. So we thought it was a good time to talk about 2020. We want to promote that show a little bit. Hey, maybe some of our, there's been some crossover in viewership, and maybe some of our regular, or some of the regular 20 for 20 viewers, like Rita Smith, like Mark Halderman, like Mark Floor, like Bev Hamby, can comment below and just tell people why they should be watching.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah, we're going to take a deep dive into that, but you will not be disappointed if you tune in to those episodes.
All right. But before we get to Kathleen, and speaking of commenting, we have a winner to announce from episode 39's comment contest.
Yeah, well, how about this? The comment contest winner from episode 39 is a dear friend of ours, Mr. Robert Anthony Pickett.
R.A. Pickett.
Santa Monica, R.A. Pickett from Santa Monica, California, Lodge 906. Congratulations, R.A. Thanks for commenting.
Yeah, thanks, R.A. Why don't you tell us in the comments below or by emailing enf@elks.org how you would like to use your $50 soft credit. What ENF-funded program would you like to support with that soft credit? Now, R.A. is a dear friend, but I'll be honest with you, I was disappointed to learn recently that he likes the Cubs, as you know. I am a White Sox fan, and my White Sox are playing a huge series right now with probably with the destiny of the American League Central at stake.
Ooh.
Now, heading into the series, there was only one team in Major League Baseball who was hotter than the White Sox, and that is the Minnesota Twins, who are playing right now.
Really?
But game one was last night. It was a 3-1 game. The White Sox won. It was super exciting. It was a long game because there were a lot of base runners, lots going on. I stayed up late watching it. I imagine we have 3 more late nights ahead of us.
That's awesome. You know, I come from a family of Sox fans. I'm not a huge baseball fan myself, but I'm always happy when they're winning and when they're on top.
Who does Mike cheer for?
He's more of a Cubs fan, to be real honest, but he will come to the Sox side on occasion.
Well, you know what? This is not the baseball minute. This is the Midday Minute, and we are here to talk about elk stuff. So without further ado, why don't we bring Kathleen out here and start talking about 20 for 20. She should be joining us right about now. Kathleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Now, you are no stranger to the Midday Minute because you are one of the producers for the show. You're always working on the back end, and you edit the show for us each week. Yes. But this is your first time on camera with us.
It is. It's very exciting. So
right.
A little sneak preview before my editing.
Right.
Yeah, and,
welcome.
And Kathleen is also one of the stars, one of the hosts of our other series on YouTube, 20 for 20. So before we get into that, Kathleen, why don't you tell us, where you come from and how you came to us?
Yeah, so I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I ended up going to college out there at the University of Buffalo. And then I went to the University of Wisconsin, Madison, which Debbie is familiar with, for my master's in communications and journalism. And after that, I kind of moved to Chicago on a whim, worked odd jobs for the summer, and then ended up at the ENF in communications. And I've been here for just over a year. It was my Elkiversary last month. And yeah,
congratulations.
It's been very fun. So yeah.
Well, your journalism background was probably means that the interview format of the 20 for 20 show is comfortable for you, I would guess, right?
Yeah. Usually when I was in J school, I did my interviews over the phone or in person, but I was never really on camera. I'm more of a behind the scenes type of person with that. So it's been really fun and really exciting to try something new and be on camera with these scholars.
Well, I would say you were Oprah caliber.
Oh, thank you so much. That's probably
sure.
compliment I've ever gotten. So.
It was probably an interesting way to sort of dive into the work we do also. I mean, as you said, you've been around a year and you know, you jumped in at about what, 8 month mark or so, you started doing these interviews?
Yeah, so we started doing these in June, which was around my 9 month mark with the ENF. And it's been really cool. I mean, I'd never worked at a nonprofit before, so it's been a really awesome inside look at our programs and how they shape our participants and things like that. So it's been really cool to be a part of.
So why don't you tell everybody, give them just a quick elevator pitch on what 20 for 20, what the series is.
Yeah, so the series is kind of our way of replacing The Future Looks Like, which is our series that we filmed during the MVS Leadership Weekend. Of course, this year we couldn't be in person, which was super disappointing, but the virtual leadership weekend was amazing. And it's just been a really cool way to connect with the scholars and hear more from them in more of a laid back kind of genuine setting. So that's kind of just our way of introducing them to the Elks and everybody else out there.
So how do you go about, some inside information here. How do you prepare for one of those episodes?
Yeah, so before we started the series, we wrote down a bunch of questions that we knew we wanted to talk to the scholars about. And typically before the show, you know, I'll think about what they shared in their shields for Leadership Weekend, think about the things that they talked about that they were passionate about, and kind of adapt the questions. And then a lot of it is just kind of on a whim. They say something that's interesting and I go from there. But the prep is really just thinking about what they're passionate about and what their interests are and how we can highlight those and share those with everybody else.
So the shields comes up a lot in the 20 for 20s when you ask everybody what their favorite part of the Leadership Weekend was. And it seems to be a kind of a split between game night and the shield exercise. Why don't you tell our viewers what the shield exercise was?
Yeah, so the shields were pretty much a way to represent the things that they're passionate about. So it was kind of like a crest where they had 4 quarters and they talked about one aspect or 4 different aspects of their lives that really mattered to them. So one example, one of the scholars I interviewed, Tanner, talked about his passion for calligraphy. And it was just a really cool way to get to know them. And a lot of them talk about how much it meant to them to see those different facets of each other's lives. And it was my favorite part of the Leadership Weekend, personally. So.
It was our response to when we're usually in person, right? We do the tell your story. So this was a great way to tell a story without being together in a visual way.
Yeah, with 20 people plus staff participating in a Zoom meeting, you need a little bit more structure than just tell your story, right? So, and this provided it. So yeah, it was a neat coat of arms, and it was neat to see how the different approaches. Like some people were very artistic in how they drew them. Other people found like images from the internet. Some people were more artistic in, you know, what they talked about and, you know, the different metaphors that they used or whatever. It was a neat exercise to witness.
Yeah, it was really enlightening into what they care about and what makes them who they are.
So have you had any favorite moments from the series so far, or things that you've learned about the Elks, about the scholars, about yourself?
Yeah, that is a tough question because I have enjoyed every episode, every interview, and watching the other interviews that Christine Robinson, our communications manager, and then our former Elks Scholar Fellow, John Kavula, have done. But I think a couple of my favorites, Emerson, for one, their major, which is biomedical art and visualization, is so cool and something I've never heard of before. So it was really cool to learn about what they plan to do with that, which can include animations and illustrations of new surgical procedures for doctors and surgeons to learn from. Tanner was one of my favorite. Again, I really enjoyed hearing about his passion for calligraphy. And it was really fun. He said during the Leadership Weekend that he didn't think he was that good, and everybody just rallied around him in the chat and really built him up. And I loved that. And just his excitement and creativity was really fun to see. And
it's always impresses me how supportive the scholars are to one another. You know, they come in and they're competing, right? This is a competition for the top 6 scholarship awards, but you wouldn't know it. If you're just witnessing the interactions among the students, you would not know that they're competing. They're competitors, right? It's a supportive environment, and it's so nice to see.
It really is. And then if you watch the ENFTU, the show, you would have seen my interview with Santiago, which is not premiered yet as part of the series. But his really stuck out to me, especially toward the end when he spoke about how the scholarship isn't just furthering his own goals and the goals of his family, but it's creating a ripple effect in his community and in future generations. And I just felt that was so indicative of what our scholarship program is all about. So I think that interview was really eye-opening for me. Even though I was already familiar with the scholarship program, it really opened my eyes to just exactly what it does and how powerful it is.
All right, the 14th episode just aired on Monday, and that was with Luciana,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
There was a moment, which I thought was neat in that episode, where she talks about she's going to Harvard, and she was at some event. She was wearing like one of the Elks shirts that we gave her, and a friend she had made was also an Elks scholar. Is that the story she told? Do you remember that?
Yeah, so she said that she has known this person for a while, I think before college, and they were together and he saw her t-shirt and was like, oh, I'm an Elks scholar too. And they connected over that, and they had no idea, even though they already knew each other. And I mean, Harvard, there's so many Elks scholars there. So we talked a lot about how there will probably be more incidences like that. But yeah.
So there are 6 episodes left in the series. You mentioned Santiago's, which is yet to come. Any others that you're really excited about? You can't wait to see them air?
Yeah, so we have 2 scholars that we have yet to interview, Caleb and Satya, who I'm excited to speak with. Christine will be interviewing Caleb this week, and then I'll probably interview Satya soon. And then we have our top 4 winners, so Arissa and Daniel, who each won $40,000, and then of course Sarah and Santiago. So I'm really excited to see them all. I rewatch them all the time. You know, they're super inspiring, and it's a great show to watch during quarantine when things just feel a little down. They really keep you going and give you hope for the future. So I'm excited to see the rest of them.
Debbie, you caught up with the series?
Yeah, well, I've caught up with all of Kathleen's interviews. So I've watched those and a couple of John's. I haven't been able to watch every Monday when they've debuted, but they're just such a great inside perspective to their lives in a long form format almost too, right? Like the future looks like they're kind of snippets of, we hear a lot of it, but this what's so beautiful about this series is that Kathleen, you're just like sitting down and having coffee with them for 10-15 minutes and really get into the heart of the matter. So I mean, they're really great.
Behind the scenes, the future looks like would have looked a lot like 20 for 20, right? But the intention of the future looks like was to come up with a 2 to 3 minute maybe a video, right? So we're just boiling it all down. What you're seeing in 20 for 20 is the entire interview, and it's just, there's so much more to it. You get a much more complete picture of who these kids are. And if you watch the series, like, I can't promise that you are going to share this passion, the same passions as all of our scholars, but I will promise that you will be impressed at where how we're using your donations to the Elks National Foundation, who we are investing in. You can't help but be impressed by these students.
Yeah, they're really authentic and really genuine and just really amazing people. They're very selfless and passionate about what they do, and it's really incredible to see. And like I said before, very inspiring. Right.
So I guess my last question for you would be, you've gotten to know quite a few of these now. Like, you guys are divvied them up pretty roughly equally, right? So, what insights have you gained into the Elks family hashtag?
Yeah, I think something that's come up in pretty much every interview is how excited they are about the network of Elks scholars and how powerful those connections are. I know this kind of class of Elks scholars, even though they couldn't meet together on the leadership weekend, they have a group chat and they connect on Instagram and over social media, and they have formed that network despite this huge distance that, of course, none of us could foresee happening. But it's just been amazing to hear about how much they're excited to expand and get to know each other, and then also to serve alongside each other. A lot of them are really excited for the scholar service trips and being a part of that when they are safe to hold. So I think that has been a huge insight, is just what a powerful network it is, and how those connections will last for the rest of their lives.
And something tangible that came out of the leadership weekend, 2 of the scholars, I believe Daniel our $40,000 winner, and I think it was Victor, are collaborating on a podcast, right? They're the two that are collaborating on podcasts that just came out of their interactions at the Leadership Weekend. So,
Yep, it's awesome to see what they're going to do all together. I can't wait.
yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for sure.
Definitely.
Debbie, you got any other questions for Kathleen?
No, I just again want to say you did such a great job, and Christine and John did as well. But it's just I think the conversational aspect of it that really made them feel comfortable and able to share their story with us in a way that really gives us some perspective into who they are and why they ended up as part of the top 20, the finalists.
Yes. Now, it is my hope, and I haven't uttered this to anyone yet, so I'm going to do it for you two and our audience. It is my hope that once we wrap up the 20 for 20 series, we'll just roll it into a regular thing that we do with other scholars. Because the top 20, there are so many scholars out there, Elks scholars out there with interesting stories to tell, that I don't think there's any reason why, especially now, we need to limit it to just 20.
Right. I mean, every scholar we have actually has a really cool story. So
let's do them all.
Good. Do them all.
Yeah. I
Kat,
would.
are you up for that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, why not? Got all the followers on YouTube now, so we are ready to roll with that.
Well,
we need more inspiration right now, and you guys are providing a weekly dose every Monday at 5 p.m. Central Time.
6 p.m. Yeah.
6 p.m. Central Time every Monday is a weekly dose. A great way to start the week with 20 for 20.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Kathleen, thank you for joining us. Taking some time out, and keep up the great work.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun to be here. Have a great.
All right. Have fun editing all of this.
Thank you. I will. I'll see this in about 5 to 10 minutes from now.
That's right.
Or 20.
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Bye, Kathleen.
Okay.
I want to say also with the videos, when I watch them, I'm kind of watching them through a different lens. And so kind of pulling from some of the tidbits of what the scholars are saying, and then going back to our scholarship staff and connecting them to something that one of the finalists said, and getting them connected with the lodge or, with one of our scholars who we know. So two of the stories that stuck out to me were Nick Sega in Oklahoma City. He is from Oklahoma City. He's going to the University of Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
We just had a comment contest, the comment contest winner, Lucy Shaw, who won $1,000, is from the Oklahoma City Lodge. He started a nonprofit, with backpacks for his school because he saw that need, set up food pantries. Like, what a great, alliance that would be. Yeah. Someone like Tanner Christensen mentions he's going to Stanford. He's a first-generation student, getting him connected with Sean Loosely. Like, this is what Sean Loosely, who is our 2003 winner, is a scholar leader for the Leadership Weekends and is a very good friend of ours. Kind of has epitomized what it means to be an Elks scholar before we started really talking about it in that way. So there's amazing stories, and each one has a great story, and we're a resource for our scholars in a way that goes so far beyond the check. That's
for certain.
Yeah. So I'm excited for what's to come, and I love, what you said about keep this going. There's no reason not to. So,
well, even if we don't do it weekly, we can alternate with our show and
right,
or whatever. But there's more stories to tell than just these 20.
That's right.
And it's, like I said, right now, especially, people, I think, are looking for some hope and inspiration, and what better source than our scholars and the investment in our future that they represent.
Yeah. I actually thought you were going to say you were hoping to be able to get them together in person for the Leadership Weekend that they missed out on, which is my hope. If getting it, together in person ever becomes a reality.
Happens again. Yes. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So what else is going on? I've got one note here. The Pearl Harbor campaign, which we announced on our show last year in September, I think, has been extended to November 11th, which is Veterans Day. So fundraising will continue until November 11th. Now, as of today, we have raised $299,370.
Wow.
The foundation matched the first $100,000 of that. So far, we've given $250,000 to Pacific Historic Parks for their work at the Pearl Harbor Museum and Memorial. A lot of that is going in, they're developing some virtual reality programming, which is pretty cool, so that they can share the experience of Pearl Harbor and the attack in Arizona with people both on site, but also around the country.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
We are arranging to present the balance raised, which will be at least $149,370, plus anything else we can raise by November 11th, to PHP during festivities surrounding Pearl Harbor Day in Honolulu or Hawaii, wherever it is.
The Elks' generosity never ceases to amaze, right?
Right. Elks always care.
Elks always care. Hey, that's a great segue to what I wanted to mention, which is our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers are certainly with all of our Elks family out on the West Coast experiencing these fires. In particular, the Milwaukie, Portland, Oregon Lodge has really stepped up and has been a resource for the community in a way that has gotten not only a lot of publicity in the area, but has helped countless numbers of people. And one of the articles I was reading about it just said how one of the Elks put out a call to say, like, if you need a place to stay, come to our lodge, we'll help you. And they said the rooms filled up with all sorts of supplies in the parking lots, and people had what they needed because they had to flee their homes with a moment's notice. But one of the quotes in this article that I just thought was so perfect was following a woman who landed there, and then at the end of the article she says, you ask them for something or whatever, they just immediately get to it. You almost don't even need to. They're going around to everyone at the camp all day long asking if anyone needs anything. Like, yeah, of course, right? That's our
sums
Elks.
up the Elks. That sums up the Elks.
Exactly.
Actually.
Yeah. It brought a tear to my eye, and just, knowing what they're going through, and the other, like Ashland Lodge too, and I'm sure there are others that I'm not mentioning, but just seeing the smoke in Portland and knowing what the air quality is. I mean, it's devastating to know, and it's happening all up and down that coast. And my heart goes out to all of them. And of course, I'm just so touched by the Elks rising to the occasion and being right there to help the communities that they serve. So Elks always care.
Indeed. Okay, well, that's a good place to end. So let's just remind our viewers to comment below with the hashtag ENF Midday, and they too will be entered into a drawing to possibly win a $50 soft credit to the ENF funded program of their choice. If you've liked this episode of the Midday Minute, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't, a thumbs down. Either way, share it far and wide with your social networks so we can share the good story of the work the Elks are doing. If you're not already a subscriber, consider hitting that button and tap the bell so you'll be notified every time we post new content. And last but not least, head over to our sister show on the channel and watch and get caught up on the 20 for 20. If you're not watching already, you are missing out on some great Elks programming.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
All right, everybody, we will see you in 2 weeks when we'll be talking with McKenna Cannon of the Hoop Shoot.
That's right. Bye.
Stay safe.